Hi, and welcome to a Drafthouse Diary for Tuesday, April 23rd, 2024, when my boy Ian and I came out here to the Littleton Aspen Grove Alamo Drafthouse to see The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Now, of course, the fact that we have gone to see this cannot be reported, and we are not allowed to discuss this until after we finished, which is why we're recording it now.
Well, I wasn't sure what to expect from this movie, but to be honest, I was disappointed.
I felt like it was a good trailhead for finding out the full story, but it was not a smooth ride of a film, I would agree.
It was, and the history behind this story is very interesting, and there are two books that I know of. One of them is Churchill's Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare by Milton Giles, and there's another book by Damian Lewis. And I've read the Milton Giles book. I understand this is more based on the other book. The book that I read, it was more political, it was much more technological, and I found it a fascinating story. And what we get in this movie is a fun action movie. It's about a particular mission. It's kind of very self-contained. And again, it's not a bad action movie, but there's so much more they could have done.
It's a fine action film, but this is a look at Operation Postmaster that is very clearly set in two points media-wise, one of which being this is a post-Inglourious Bastards movie adaptation of Operation Postmaster, and this is, I feel, very distinctly a movie that occurs in between major Bond cycles.
Yes.
Because the way they hold on certain characters, the way they point out Ian Fleming, everything else has a very, hi, would you like to pick from our wide variety of potential Bonds?
It is getting to be as if any movie that is set anywhere near British intelligence during World War II, they've got to throw in Ian Fleming as a character just because, oh wow, Ian Fleming was here. Yes, we know.
We know.
You're just distracting us. And that's it. There was a lot of distraction for me from the story in that the action scenes were pretty good. Hey there, it's Editing Matthew jumping in from the future to share with you some of the challenges of impromptu vlog recording in a movie theater parking lot late at night. In about a second, you'll see that the camera spontaneously chose to engage in optical zoom, putting Ian and me completely out of frame and giving you a great view of a brick wall at the front of the Alamo. I didn't see this until editing, and I still think that our review might be of interest to some people, so I'm going to leave it as it is. But I don't know what happened here. We recorded a review of Oppenheimer in a literal thunderstorm and didn't have any equipment trouble. So if you happen to know more about videography using an iPhone 15 Pro Max and can let me know what happened here, let me know in the comments. Just wanted to let you know that I'm aware the video does go weird. I don't know why, and you have my apologies. Now back to the review. The action scenes were pretty good. A few questions about how certain firearms had suppressors at random, it seemed to me, based on the sound design.
Yeah.
But pretty good action scenes. The characters, the performances, I thought were very engaging, very fun to watch movie stars. And yet the characters were very two-dimensional, very stamped out of a factory. There wasn't much interesting or distinctive. There wasn't enough different about these characters to make me care about them more than any other character in any other movie.
I kind of agree with you. There are definitely, between your comment about the silencers and such, the characters are almost distinguished by fighting style more than they are personality.
Yeah, that's true.
Where the same gun picked up by two different people will have slightly different properties that better emphasize how they deal with the problem, using the exact same apparent model of firearm. So that's an interesting style point where it's like their character sheets are impacting the roles more than the equipment at sometimes.
I could give that to them. Maybe that was a style choice. I found it a distracting style choice, but you're right. Henry Cavill's character picks up a particular automatic weapon and he can fire it from the hip and it barely makes a noise and it never misses its mark. Somebody else picks up what appears to be the same thing. and it's like a bomb went off next to you,
Yeah.
which is a little bit more accurate to that kind of firearm. But yeah, maybe that was a style choice.
Might be a style choice. I will say, with the whole Ian Fleming thing, I'm still waiting for someone to give us Julia Child, inventor of shark repellent,
Yes.
the way these sort of movies love to toss in
Yeah.
Ian Fleming, writer of James Bond.
And yeah, and your point about Inglourious Basterds was a good one, in that if Operation Fortune was Guy Ritchie wanting to make a Mission Impossible movie, this was Guy Ritchie looking to make an Inglourious Basterds type movie. Not that he was just aping Tarantino. It definitely had a Guy Ritchie style to it.
Yes.
But you could see where he was going. You could see what his references were. And it all seemed a little bit rushed and a little bit too by the numbers, in that he started out with, what kind of movie do I want to make? And then filled in the boxes.
In a weird way, the speed and strange swiftness in which all the setup happens, where everyone has their little slots and their little characterizations and their little introductions, I never expected to use the words whimsical or quirky for a movie like this, but there was something a little bit like almost Wes Anderson. Everyone is slightly more trope than person, and it's all about how they interact more than about the specifics aspect going on.
Right. It's a bad sign to me when there were a few characters on the wrong side who were more interesting because they were more distinctive as characters.
Yeah, that
Horrible,
was actually
horrible, but more distinctive. And also, speaking of which, this movie was definitely in the Nazis are orcs sort of mode.
Yeah.
There were a never-ending supply of Nazis, and our characters get to mow them down or snipe them with impunity, which is fine with me. Being nice to Nazis is not a moral virtue. But it just got boring after a while to see the same kind of scene, the same kind of little tiny action set piece, one after another.
In some ways, maybe because of that aspect of technological that you said the books had, there was much more the people on the boat are easy to deal with, but the tension doesn't come on whether or not we can get to the boat, but whether or not the boat can drag the thing we want.
Yeah.
It was the moment in which we saw people walk down, we saw our heroes walk down the boardwalk and remove various little guard posts like they're having a casual stroll. And one of them says, "Oh, hello," and walks through a car and walks out the other side perfectly fine with 2 dead Nazis falling out the back.
Mm-hmm.
There was something where the danger vanished there.
Yes.
And that changes the stakes in a negative way.
You're right. Very rarely was there any situation in which we really felt as if our heroes were in peril.
Mm-hmm.
And that, again, it gets kind of boring after a while.
To give it a point of credit on the other side, though, it did a fine job of showing the Nazis to be arrogant and so self-assured they weren't prepared for this to happen.
Yeah.
And that is very true to reality and very good for this kind of balance where their hubris makes it easier for our heroes' lackadaisical attitudes at time to feel more like comeuppance than plot problem. But the balance is a fine-tuned one, and this didn't always land every single one of those beats.
And also culturally, and in terms of the setting and the time, there were a few things that I thought were a bit lazy. This did not ring true. Early on, we have the setup and the stakes being established by our characters in Britain watching a British newsreel. And this newsreel is about how great things are going for the Nazis and how much peril Britain is in. I'm sorry,
That would not be...
British newsreels at that time were not spreading that message, true as it might have seemed to many in power. That is not what they were showing to the British public in movie theaters at the time. So that just took me completely out of the movie, and I never quite got back into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say this was entertaining. When it's on streaming services, it's probably worth a look if the topic interests you. But I was hoping for more, and I was a bit disappointed.
It's a fine popcorn action film,
Yeah.
but if you're looking for more historical drama in that sense, use this as a starting point to go research it instead of expecting this to actually tell you the story.
Yep.
Speaking of popcorn.
Yes, other parts of our trip to the Alamo. The pre-show, it was an interesting pre-show in that we found ourselves trying to figure out, was this thematically connected to the movie or not? I think the answer is not.
I think not.
But we found ourselves watching the movie, I at least, based on what you pointed out, Do potatoes factor into the plot? No, they were just a feature in the pre-show.
Yeah.
But it had music videos and commercials, a weird semi-stop motion animated piece that was an infant and a doll versus cigarettes and matches. I don't know if this was an anti-smoking commercial, a pro-fire safety commercial, or if it was entreating us to trust our sentient dolls. I don't know, but it was weird.
Weird. Also weird was the strange, like, dream-themed dance number.
Yes.
Which felt very, very much like something from HR Puffin stuff and that kind
Right.
of group. That,
Yeah, so overall, this pre-show, it was not one designed to get you into the mood for this particular movie, but it was a strange and interesting way to spend 25 minutes before the show.
Absolutely.
We did get some dinner at this visit. What did you get, Ian?
I actually was happy that they had their special menu, their limited time menu available.
Finally, Ian did have a paper copy of the special Eclipse and Monsters menu. I didn't have a copy of it.
Yeah.
At least one of us did.
And I was able to try out I forget what the specific name is for the event, but it's the pepperoni and hot honey pizza.
I think that was the solar flare.
I think it
or
was the solar flare.
I'll find that out and
Absolutely.
drop that in here.
But it was very good. Honestly, it was not as overly pepperonied as they kind of advertised. It was, instead of discs, it had wedges of what seemed to be a larger, it's a little spicier, pepperier pepperoni scattered across the top, and a large amount of this hot honey put on. That is a great combo. It is excellent. And honestly, if they tweaked a few things, the blue cheese, I love blue cheese, didn't add too much to this. It could use something fresher. It could use some basil or something. The problem is it ran into something the Alamo runs into with some of its food in general, which is good food served in the dark is difficult food.
Yes, it is.
And this pizza is very loaded. It's on a thinner than their normal crust, so it folds and bends in a different way. And it's covered in a very, very delicious but sticky sauce. So this was a pizza I had to bring down under the little light for reading and carefully fold each piece, because the first time I tried to pick one up, I almost stuck my hand to their pizza tray and had to figure out what to do from there.
I got the fried chicken tenders. I've had those before. With one or two exceptions, they've always been good. And once again, I got the side Caesar salad in place of fries. That's a good combination, and that's a worthwhile upgrade. The fries here are good. They're not so good that they are necessarily worth all the additional fat and calories and having the same thing time and time again. So the various side salads they have are worth it.
And I actually did go for dessert this time with mine.
Yeah.
And I did one of my favorite things in terms of their desserts here, which is order a strawberry shake. If you ask them to add some chocolate syrup to it, they'll do it. And that is one of the greatest combos. It feels like it should be a menu item, but it's always just in there in the background. It's a great option.
There you go, the Drafthouse Diary secret menu item, courtesy of Ian. Thank you. I got to remember that.
Oh yeah.
And on that note, we hope you enjoyed this Drafthouse Diary. If you did, please click that like button. If you want to see more of these, click subscribe. And if you're interested in my review of that other Guy Ritchie movie I mentioned, Operation Fortune, check out this video here. I'll be back soon with more Drafthouse Diaries. In the meantime, enjoy your movies, and when you do, stay till the end of the credits.